Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with TheLibertyBeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 45. When are you going to actually fight? Well, I've said over and over, this show is different. Sometimes they're odd. This is kind of one of those odd ones. I'm honest with you. I don't put on airs or pretend and fake things like some shows do. So let me be honest with you. This is a weird episode because I actually recorded a second segment that will be attached regarding BiDUMBnomics, kind of a BiDUMBnomics Part 3, before recording this actual segment for when are you going to actually fight. So this segment is going to be a lot shorter so that I can indeed include the second segment, which will be separate and apart, not at all discussed on TheLibertyBeacon.com, correlating and corresponding with this episode piece. So it's even more important that you go to TheLibertyBeacon.com and get the full, if you're looking at behind the scenes video, I'm waving the actual article from TLB that I'm going to use here as notes, read just a little bit of, but you need to go over to TLB to see the rest of it. A lot of things that now I'm cutting short and cutting out of the CTP Show episode that you need to get from there. And then, of course, vice versa. Those reading the article need to come to the show. I've rambled enough on the setup, but again, I hope it's why you're one of my loyal listeners, is because, you know, I don't do things the way everybody else does. Sometimes it's a little weird and chaotic, but I hope that's part of the appeal. At any rate, yes, again, I know, poking fun at myself, purposely saying that now, knowing it's an idiotic verbal segue crutch. At any rate, the When Are You Going to Actually Fight article at TLB, originally an August 9th, 2018, BeforeItsNews piece titled Conservatives, TEAParty Activists, where are you willing to stand and fight? And of course, the TLB piece goes on to have additional updated to 2024 times, things happening now that still relate to people who didn't get off their butt in 2018, and things got worse because they didn't get off their butt and do anything. And why I'm asking, when are you going to actually get pissed off enough to get off your couch and do things? Sitting on your couch, online, blah, 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 online virtue signaling isn't doing things that matter. But at any rate, yes, at any rate, for those reading in the transcript, I'm laughing out loud again at my own ridiculousness of that verbal crutch. Anyway, not anyway. Reading from the article again, which you need to go see the whole thing. Anyone else as frustrated as I am, see here, some folks that are jumping up and down, screaming they will fight to the death for conservatism on Tuesday, that quickly and completely sell out on Wednesday. I'm looking at you, Speaker Mike Johnson, and there will be more on the TLB piece. I'm not going to go into it in the show here. So go over to TLB, check out when are you going to actually fight. That's okay. I'll be the bad guy and the one that says what many think but aren't comfortable enough to honestly say aloud. Yes, I know I've been told many times I should be more diplomatic, but I have to look myself in the mirror and demand honesty, integrity, that thing a whole lot of people sadly don't have, honesty of myself and of others. I can't demand honesty of others if I don't demand it of myself, foolishly thinking I might get that honesty of others. I do from some, obviously. I'm betting them, a lot of you in this audience, I hope all of you, but I'm going to not make the assumption. I'm hoping those some that don't have honor and integrity are listening and will indeed now go to their bathroom mirror, stare themselves in the face, it's like the Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror, or the Rick Springfield song, if you prefer kind of his version of Jackson's Man in the Mirror, called Prayer. I send a prayer to heaven for the chance to be a better man than the man I see, that man I'm staring at in the mirror. Are you not yet fed up with the compromising? And yes, okay, an aside, sometimes you got to give to get. You can't always be stringent and hardened and never willing to compromise at all, ever. We're not talking about that. Being always a one-sided street, though, that's a problem. And that you, me, us, conservatives, ChristiTutionalists are always expected to be the ones on the compromising end and side of things to the GOP establishment, Democrat-like CINOs, rhinos, again, flying the flag of surrender to the Democrats and giving them everything they want and getting nothing back in return, like even a skosh of immigration language about our borders in the bills to help other people with their borders. Not one line. I understand we only have 1 or 2 member majority, but that means we could have passed an amendment to that to put something about our border in these bills before you then turn to majority of Democrats to give them exactly what they want in the money laundering bill. And again, I'm for supporting the Ukrainian people. I can and would support the Ukrainian aid package if it were the right one. Not this one, not the one just passed. Absolutely, positively, no money sent there. We know it's being laundered, and some of it kickbacking to leftists, whether they be CINOs, rhinos, or fascocrats, the Biden crime family, the Mitt Rhino-knees of the world. So there's a difference there. Send Patriot batteries, then allocate the funds to Company A in the U.S. to replace X number of Patriot missile batteries to our stock that we order sent over there. And the logistics of getting it over there comes out of the existing Pentagon budget, not new dollars that is fungible and laundered. So I'm for bread and bullets, not money going over there. All right, where was I? I lost my place. Let me say in advance, sorry to some that may take offense thinking I'm referring to them when I am not. As for every rule, there can be an exception, and despite sticking to with principles, pardon me, I had to cough for the transcript purposes. Yeah, I coughed. There's no cough button here. I'm not in a fancy multi-million-dollar radio recording studio with cough button. I coughed. My apologies. Despite sticking to with principles, not personalities, yes, indeed, sometimes one has to compromise on some things to give, to get. I already said that. Where is issue is CINOs and rhinos constantly surrender to the left and never get anything in return, only compromise on our side, never from the left. I'm going to wrap it up again. This segment is going to be quick because I want to get into a BiDENomics part 3 that you won't see on TLB, and much needed because of an argument I had with an idiot on Gab and another idiot troll on Truth Social. Where was it? Okay, here I am again. I'm sorry, I lost my place again. I am very proud to have fought and to fight alongside many of you. Unfortunately, the ones who it really is about won't bother to give this a second thought. They are comfortable waffling in the breeze on a day-to-day basis, surrendering their supposed principles. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless. Like I said, we're going to jump to another subject, BiDUMBnomics, kind of part 3, follow-up due to social media troll stupidity. I'll get into the difference between ignorance and stupidity in segment 2. Oh, you got to hear this, please. Again, like, share, subscribe. I hate to ask for people to do that, but we need to share these shows. I'm not doing this just to hear myself talk. And I know a lot of you already understand these things. So you tune in to get reassurance or reaffirmation, but we need to share this outside the ChristiTutionalist membership to those who may need to hear it, may not get these things yet. So on to BiDENomics. Take care. See you in a minute or so. And then, of course, see you next week. Actually, Wednesday again with another special drop, most likely. A guest will be on, and we'll cover some other things. Saturday drops are still usually my monologues on the politics aspect of ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast. Wednesdays now, almost every Wednesday, not every Wednesday, at least 2 Wednesdays a month, I'm dropping special episodes, mainly focusing on a guest and a particular topic that may or may not directly correlate with the show, but someone I feel I need to introduce to this audience. Thank you all. Welcome to segment 2, a bit of an aside from the main show topic, fun with numbers, or BiDENomics part 3. Remember, we had done a BiDENomics part 1 and part 2. Well, this is just going to be a brief update. Fun with numbers. Is 100 better than 70? Well, it depends. Now, 100 is a larger number than 70, but if we're talking in Canada on the freeway, 100 kilometers per hour, that is actually only 62 miles per hour versus U.S. freeways, generally most places now, 70 miles per hour. So if you're talking speed, 70 is actually better than the 100. 70 miles per hour is a bigger, faster level, degree, speed than 100 kilometers per hour. You know the old saying, lies, damn lies, and statistics. Well, the idiots on the left only know 100. That's actually a bigger number than 70. They cannot and will not ever actually examine the numbers to see what they really mean. And that's the issue with BiDUMBnomics. I had an argument with someone just the other day on social media, right? They got a 5% increase this year. That is better than the 3.5% increase they got several years ago. Well, it's a bigger number. Is it better? People who own and operate businesses understand this thing called accounting, right? There's two sides of the ledger. There's the income and the outcome. The 5% increase, if you're focusing solely on that, is dumb, because at a time when your costs due to inflation are going up by 10%, guess what? You lost money. 3.5% several years ago, with costs of living adjusting up by 3%. I mean, you actually gained 0.5% of value of extra disposable income. You got ahead. Now, yeah, the 3.5 is a lower number than the 5, but given both sides of the accounting ledgers, this thing called economics that the left doesn't understand at all, you were better off than the 5% in losing ground. And these idiots don't generally see it. Now, it's the difference between ignorance and stupidity. We are all ignorant of certain things, but when you're ignorant, you can, or it suggests you're able still to learn, to educate yourself on whatever that subject is that you are not sufficiently informed yet, as opposed to left-wing stupid wanting to live your delusion of stupidity. This goes to 11. Remember that from Spinal Tap? No, the dial travels the same amount of space. It's just that they changed the spacing between the numbers to squeeze another number on that. Now, that's just a silly analogy, of course, but this goes to 11. It's the same volume. The knob is traveling the same distance. Are you that stupid to not know what is going on there? And indeed, with the left, why that joke is so wonderful and goes past so many people is they don't understand the underlying dynamics of why the number is 11 as opposed to just 10, but the same decibel output. These ignorant, no, again, sorry, I'm being too generous. These stupid, delusional, BiDUMBnomics leftists who think that 5% increase in their check is so wonderful, likely don't even notice that their bank account is shrinking, because it's not shrinking by the full amount it would if they were paying cash for everything. Credit card debt is soaring at an all-time record highs in our nation's history since we've been tracking it. So these stupid people, now I'm not saying people who use all people who use credit cards are stupid. I use a credit card, but I know what's going on here. I do not just pay my minimum payment. Now, again, I understand some people are hurting so badly due to the left and right, the debits and credits, both sides of the accounting equation, that all they can do is afford to pay the minimum payment. So I'm not talking about you, if that's you, or them. I'm talking about the people who could be paying more, but they allow their credit card debt to continue to soar and soar and soar. But again, their bank account isn't disappearing as quickly as it could if they were adjusting their payments based on the inflation rate, and as they should, in order to be able to pay off that credit card at some point. The minimum payment is only going up by a little, mainly to cover the additional interest they're throwing away to the bank on those credit cards at those minimum payments, while their principal continues to grow and grow and grow. They're covering and paying more and more and more interest to the bank and never really fulfilling any of their principal. It's the same with Washington, D.C. and our national debt. We're paying more and more and more of the tax revenues that come in to Washington, D.C. to pay the interest alone on the debt, which means there is then less and less and less to spend on other things. More has to go to the interest on the debt. But yet, of course, they don't adjust for that. They then just keep spending more and more and more and running bigger and bigger and bigger deficits, adding more and more exponentially quickly to the overall debt, which, of course, feeds the problem of then the amount of interest we have to pay continuing to climb and climb and climb. That's the difference in between people who know what's going on, understand and have a clue about economics and accounting, and leftist, stupid people who think you can just continually, endlessly run up debt without consequences. Eventually, you have to pay the piper, like the Soviet Union went bankrupt. And there's a thing called Cloward and Piven about purposely the leftists bankrupting America. They think that if we go the way of Soviet Union, hey, we'll just then rein in socialism and communism and everything will be perfect. When the government has no money, it means no one gets taken care of. Bankrupting doesn't mean more people then get to be taken care of. It means there is less or no money to take care of anybody. These leftards cannot grasp these simple, basic economic concepts because the education system controlled by the left purposely, willfully, and malice of forethought wants to keep them stupid and not understand these things. At any rate, yes, I know. I purposefully said that. I'm poking fun at myself, at my continued idiocy myself, call myself an idiot.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
He'll be using that crutch as a segue. So, at any rate, just a brief BiDUMBnomics update. The car and speed analogy, as well as the spinal tap analogy, obviously not direct correlations, but it does make the point about the lies, damn lies, and statistics, and the number games that the left plays, because they know their supporters are indeed too stupid to understand that a 3.5% increase when cost of living is 3% is better than a 5% wage increase, even though COLA is 10% up, and they lose ground. They don't see it. They don't want to see it. They don't know. They don't want to know, as local radio host Mark Scott, RIP brother, always used to say, right? They don't know, and they don't know they don't know. And I add, they don't want to know. They like their delusion. They aren't ignorant. They refuse to learn. That makes them stupid. I'm sorry for really harsh tone and language in this segment, but I'm sorry. Somebody's got to be the bad guy here and actually point out the reality versus the leftist delusion. Thank you all for tuning into this off-the-wall segment when we were actually talking about when are you going to stand up? When are you going to fight? When are you really going to finally get off your butt? It's not to all of you. A lot of you are active in doing things, but there are a lot of, and we could all do more. I could do more. I wish I could do more on Social Security disability with health issues. It's one of the reasons why I do this show. I could do this show from my couch because I can't get out and about into the world and do speaking engagements and attend rallies and a whole lot of committee meetings like I used to be able to do. So I'm doing more through the avenues that I can do them, and we can all do something more, something better, something different. But I'm talking to those who are constantly parked on their couch. Back to bread and circus that we've discussed a couple times. You got to do things. Blah, 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 blah. Online virtue signaling 24/7 isn't doing, it's whining. You've got to do things that matter. You can't complain about the candidate in November if you didn't get off your ass in the spring and work for a better candidate in the primary to have to vote for in the fall. We, the people, and it's the uniparty nonsense. No, it's not. It's Cinos, rhinos, fascocrats, yes. Deep state, elitist, establishment. The uniparty, it's not. Republican Party is definitely different than the Democrat Party unless you allow it to continue to be controlled locally to you by Cinos, conservatives in name only, and rhinos. that are indeed, most of them, hardly any better than Democrats, constantly caving to Democrats. And in the TLB piece, indeed, I will be going into the Speaker Johnson thing. I'm not going into that here. I'm not sure if I'm actually recording segment 2 before recording segment 1. Not sure if I'll be going into that in the show, but yes, at thelibertybeacon.com, I go into the whole speakership, broken promises like H.W. Bush, no new taxes, and then, of course, broke the pledge, broke the promise, again, crossed the aisle and sided with the Democrats. At any rate, yes, again, I'm saying it on purpose. Please understand, laugh at me for saying it. I'm poking fun at myself in that. So that will be covered in the TLB piece. How much of it's covered in the are you actually going to stand up and fight? Because the party is we the people and what we allow it to be. So if your local party is just Democrat light, guess what? Look in your mirror for the reason why it may continue to be that way. Now, again, I got it, not speaking to all of you. A lot of you are active, but what about your buddy? What about your sister, your brother, your neighbor? They need to get off their asses and be delegates to wrestle control away from the CINOs and rhinos to ensure that indeed we're not getting deep state establishment hack deep staters, not unipartyists, deep staters, CINOs, rhinos, fascocrats, indeed all part of the deep state club. But to make a difference and ensure there is a difference, they must get off their ass and be a delegate and be involved. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have a bookstore still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff. No fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.